Here in California, we need millions of units of infill housing to have the homes near jobs and transit that we need for the people already living in the state. For many years, it was extremely difficult or entirely illegal to build more than a tiny bit of that. So the state legislature, to try to help solve that problem, has passed over 100 housing bills in the last decade, with more each year. But to actually use those bills to create housing is extremely complex, poorly understood, and in some cases still being figured out. At Workbench, we get a ton of questions about that subject, specifically about how to use state law to permit housing that's financially feasible and desirable to build.
Right now, I'm standing on the site of an infill affordable housing project that's currently under construction. This project wouldn't have even been legal just a few years ago, but under state laws, it was able to go from just beginning design to starting construction in under 15 months. This kind of progress requires development processes that weren't previously possible. So in this podcast, we're going to go way into the details on how to use those processes to get the infill housing that we really need approved and developed.
I'm Sibley Simon. I'm a principal at Workbench, where we permit, design, and build infill apartment buildings in California. In short, we're developers helping to solve the state's housing crisis by creating denser infill housing that's good for residents and communities and is environmentally sustainable, including being less car-oriented. We want to have more impact, so this podcast is going to share what we've learned. For example, you'll learn how to determine the density on a specific site that must be permitted by a local jurisdiction, often more than you might think. You'll also learn how to get the permitting process to go at its intended speed, often faster than you might think. And you'll learn what you're allowed to design. And you will be surprised at how most local zoning rules don't apply to most housing development projects. Whether you're a developer or part of a jurisdiction's permitting department, you'll learn what your rights and obligations are under current state law. We'll share examples from our own work, and we'll really get into the details on the latest guidance from the California Department of Housing and Community Development, what courts have ruled, and how everything's evolving year after year. So it's quite a bit different than other California housing podcasts out there. Buckle up, because it's going to get very nerdy and very useful. Our first few episodes are going to cover the pre-application process, it's very important, how to calculate permittable density, and some of 2025's biggest new housing bills. We'll see you there.